Special Kevin Durant free agency version of Thunder Thursday. I'm Mike Sherman, Sports of the Oklahoman. For now, with me.
That's true.
With me.
Yes.
Our Thunder aficionado, editor, reporter emeritus Darnell Mayberry, columnist Jenny Carlson, and from just 2 blocks down, where he was covering the very first meeting for Kevin Durant, this one with the Thunder, beat writer Anthony Slater. Joining us by remote, of course, is Eric Horn. You there, Eric?
I'm here.
Let's start. Okay, great. Let's start with Anthony. Anthony, Thunder gets to go first. Will it get to go last?
They hope, and they think so. And I think they think that Kevin Durant is gracious enough to allow that, which, regardless of all the meetings he hears, he's not going to do some midnight hour signing and then call Sam Presti and say, hey, I already signed. I think if he decides or is leaning towards going elsewhere, I believe they think they'll get a chance to maybe try to convince him otherwise, or at least a courtesy message. But they also, their hope is they don't need a final meeting. Their hope is he goes to the Hamptons this weekend, calls Sam Presti, goes, we don't need a meeting, I'm signing. I'm coming to Oklahoma City, which is a possibility. I mean, if we lay all the cases down, I think it becomes pretty clear that the one-year deal seems the wisest for Durant for so many reasons. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I think they want that backup plan just in case, just hoping that Kevin doesn't do something on a whim, and then they learn Dan Gilbert style. Remember, I think what Dan Gilbert learned about a minute before LeBron got on ESPN to do the decision. I think they believe that won't happen in this case.
Jenny, as you read the tea leaves, which that's while Anthony and others are trying to break this story, Eric too, Darnell too, the rest of us are out reading tea leaves. This whole idea of Thunder meeting last with him. Should we see that as a bad sign if the Thunder gets one final meeting, meaning that they need that one final meeting?
Oh, I mean, I don't think so. I mean, in a lot of ways, I think it'll be Sam Presti and whoever else is there. Troy Weaver, we saw him today at the arena, at least at the door, which you assume that.
Welcome him through the front door. That seemed a little interesting. Was that a ploy by Presti? I think he had him walk in front of his face on the arena.
I was wondering, has Durant ever actually walked through that door before?
Probably not.
Probably not. I mean, he goes in the player entrance
and by the way, he did not come out of that door today. I mean, there was me and about 6 other reporters down there kind of staking it out a little bit, and then eventually somebody came out and said, he left an hour ago through the other way.
Thanks a lot.
So
you've still been out there.
Yeah, well, I would have had to come here, you guys are paying me to do this, so I'd come here to do it.
Here we go.
Very good, T. Hey, that's a warning. Hey, Darnell, so this front door thing kind of intrigues me. So you go into your mom's house, right? You don't knock on the front door when you go to your mom's house. You either walk in or you walk in the kitchen door. This seems a little formal. Anthony,
not only that they came out to be, I don't know if they planted a, reporter over there because nobody really knew where it was going to be. I would have guessed the facility. If I was going to check it out this morning, I would have gone to the facility. Or, Durant's house maybe. I wouldn't have guessed the arena. I wouldn't have guessed Sam Presti would have walked out and walked them through the front.
Did they have some sort of video on the Jumbotron? Kevin Durant, this is you in an Oklahoma City Thunder uniform.
At forward.
Like some sort of recruiting pitch. I mean, that they are recruiting, but not like the colleges.
My whole thing with the meetings, though, I think is greatly exaggerated, greatly overblown. This team has had him for the last 9 seasons. He knows exactly what this franchise is about. He knows Sam Presti. He knows Troy Weaver. He knows Clay Bennett. He knows the people he's got to work with every day. He knows this roster. And it's pretty much solidified at this point, barring something like an Al Horford, which we'll probably talk about here in a minute. But
probably.
I mean, I think that he understands exactly what he's signing up for here. I don't really think he needs a meeting. I think it's all overblown at this point.
Overblown, but it's happening. Eric, here we are trying to decode this, look about this. Did he come in the front door? Why are they having it? It may be overblown, but they're having it, which leads obviously to speculation. Why are they having it?
Well, I think it might be one of those, those college recruiting type things. Like, if a guy's been committed to you for so long, early in the process, not saying that Kevin Durant's committed to the Thunder, but say you get an early commit, like OU gets an early commit from a guy, and then some other schools start talking to him during the process, you might just want to get in there at the end and say, hey, let's make sure we're the last face he sees before he makes his decision. So I just think it's a smart move by the Thunder to let Kevin go and do his thing this weekend and talk to these other teams, and then they have the last sit down with him before he's ready to make his final decision. Kind of college football lesson.
I think, we talked about this Al Horford thing. I think it was important for Sam Presti today, on June 30th, before everything ramps up, before everyone in the league is allowed to talk to everyone about everything. He sat down with Kevin Durant and his reps today and went over some plans he was thinking in free agency. That's maybe in some ways why the Horford thing leaked last night. They can go over, the Horford plan. This is a possibility. We would have to shed Kanter for this, and this to get Durant's feelings on the roster, on the Oladipo move, on all that. And then for Presti really to lay out, we hear the Horford thing. He's probably got like 17 different, options or avenues he can go. And he probably, in a sense, needed to hear from Durant, a confidence meter, or at least, maybe Durant did give him a percentage chance he's staying, something like that. But just, sitting across the table from somebody, he can maybe get a sense of, do I really need to start thinking about a potential backup plan? If he's going to leave, where does he go there? So I think it was very important to have this June 30th meeting, and then I think he hopes to have one at the end in case.
Jenny, let's stay on the Al Horford story. Of course, that broke today on ESPN. We got a story up on News OK right now that says that Al Horford is an option for the Thunder. Is that plan A, or is this the start of plan B? One of you guys warned us earlier this week, maybe you, Anthony, that we would start to hear a lot of names bubbling up.
Yeah.
Names that could be associated with a possible plan B if things don't go well with Durant. Which plan do you think it is?
Well, it's definitely interesting, but this was something that if you've been on a live chat that I've done in the last couple of months, you might have seen people ask, well, what's the starting lineup if Durant leaves? Who's the Thunder start? And my response was, well, there's no way to know, because if suddenly the Thunder doesn't have Kevin Durant, they're going to have a lot of money to go out and get an Al Horford or whomever potentially on that free agent market that might not have ever been a reality before. Now, Horford's interesting because he's definitely a guy that they would have to make some other roster moves to go out and get. But I think he's that caliber of player in that Durant mode of things that if they don't get Durant, I think that they have to at least look at him. Now, what's the motivation for for the Thunder being linked to Horford? Who knows? Could be an agent, wanting to get some connections out there to maybe sweeten the deal somewhere else. Could be real. I assume that, Sam Presti's probably going to have to talk to a lot of different people just to make sure he has some options out there. But as far as exactly how tightly those are linked, I don't know.
You two know as much about this game as possible. How do you read it? You first, Darnell.
I think it's a big risk to go after Al Horford, given his age, given the fact that you're going to have to give up a lot to get him. Is he going to sign long-term here? Is he going to sign for a short-term deal? So I don't think that that's probably their first choice. I think first things first, they have to sign Kevin Durant and make sure that that's squared away before they look at anything else. But if they got Al Horford, it would be a fantastic fit. He's versatile. He can guard on the perimeter, similar to what Serge Ibaka did. Maybe not quite as good. He's older as well. Not the shooter Serge was. But if you have Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, Steven Adams, Al Horford, and Andre Robertson, that's a heck of a start, not to mention Victor Oladipo and Ersan Ilyasova now in the fold. That's a heck of a 6-7 man rotation right there. So I think the Thunder would be a much better team with a guy like Al Horford than without him.
Plus the Horford connection to Billy Donovan, obviously, played 3 years under, would really fit the Donovan style. He wants his big men to be able to pass. Al Horford can't. This, to me, is not a Thunder move at all, to dump youth and everything that they've built. With Kanter locked into a long-term deal, he's 24 years old, and some of the other pieces. So it doesn't seem like a Thunder move to me, and it's an unlikely move with Al Horford. To me, Al Horford's 30. He wants a 5-year max deal. He wants, at age 35, not to be going back into the market. He wants to be making about $32 million. So I'm not sure. I think Al Horford, this might be a ploy to get Atlanta to add the 5th year, for others to go after him. But then, also, if you're Al Horford, are you signing long-term in Oklahoma City if Kevin Durant's coming back even for 1 year? Because by your 2nd year in Oklahoma City, literally this time next year, you could be in Oklahoma City without Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Eric, it is plausible, though. It does have that ring of truth in that the Billy Donovan connection, in that he gives them a better defensive. What's your take on Horford?
It's a bold. I wouldn't even say it's a bold move, but it's a good move by Presti again to reaffirm the commitment that they have to bringing in help for Kevin Durant. But it also serves as some insurance in the case that that Kevin Durant doesn't come back. I mean, if Al Horford were to have that connection with Billy Donovan, I mean, it would be a good replacement for Kevin Durant if he were to leave now. But would Al Horford even come if Kevin Durant's not here? Probably not. But you can't fault Presti for trying to bring in more talent. My issue is the potential that you'd have to get rid of a bunch of pieces in order to even bring Al Horford in to begin with. And as Darnell and Anthony said, you're taking a risk on bringing a guy in here who wants a long-term deal, and he might bolt in a year anyway if he's only willing to take that 1-year deal with the cap going up again in 2017. Horford could be looking at another payday. So there's no telling him, but I think it's a good move by Sam Presti to not just rest on one trade or talking about some other guys, but going after big fish and showing Kevin Durant that you're willing to make these moves.
Even if this wasn't a move that Sam Presti wanted to make, if he was in the meeting with Kevin Durant today and he said, if you make that move, I stay. If you don't, I'm going to leave. I'm not saying that's what was said, but if Durant said, Horford, okay, I'll probably come back then he's got to really think about it, because that, regardless of if Presti wants to let some of these guys go, if it means retaining Kevin Durant or not retaining Kevin Durant, you got to make that move.
Well, and Horford's a type of guy, I've always felt like he was a Thunder type of guy. I mean, he sort of just has that pedigree about him, sort of in the same way that Presti talked about Oladipo being a guy after they acquired him on draft night that he had been watching for a lot of years and really been interested in since his college days in Indiana. I sort of feel like Horford's the same way, that mentality, a guy that would really fit nicely. But the thing is, I mean, you guys have brought all this up, you're getting a finished product. I mean, with Cantor, with all these other young guys, there's still that ceiling. They haven't got there yet. Horford is pretty much who he is, and I mean, he's
maybe more than a finished product as far as declining.
So I mean,
injury problems too.
Yeah, you've got to consider all those things if you're Presti, and I assume that was part of the conversation with Durant as they talked about Horford. Right now it might be. Seem like a good deal, but who knows? In a couple years, you might be thinking, "Man, I wish we had an up-and-coming Cantor or Waiters or whoever instead of."
There's a reason Al Horford wants a 5th year in that contract.
Yeah.
Now that you put it that way, I'm not buying Al Horford. I'm not. It just doesn't
The
sound.
only way I'm buying Al Horford is if Kevin Durant is demanding Al Horford.
And I'm not buying that. I just
And
don't
I'm
think
not
Kevin
either.
Durant wants to be the general manager of this team.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's
hey,
right.
speaking of big moves, though, there is a big decision coming up on Deion Waiters. When are we under the gun for that? What does the Thunder have to do? And how does the great Alex Abrines play into any of this?
It's very unlikely that Abrines will be over here next season. I think the Oladipo move kind of sealed his fate as far as another season in Barcelona. I'm not sure he'd want to come and probably not get many minutes.
Unless Waiters leaves.
Unless I still don't think the two sides there would come to terms. But as far as Waiters goes, to me he's more of a later in July move. He's not among the real top wings. Everyone's waiting for Kevin Durant. He's really the first domino, especially Waiters. Does Waiters want to come back to Oklahoma City? Probably not if Kevin Durant's not there. I think Durant may hold Waiters' fate in his hands. If Durant is on the table, I know we're saying he's probably not going to be GM, but he likes Deion Waiters. What if he says, hey, I want you to match Deion Waiters, $15 million, $16 million, whatever, match him? Ooh. It's possible. I'm not saying they should, and it's sounding like the Thunder's really going to have a cap, maybe 12, 13 million. They'll let Waiters walk if it's too much, but they won't let Waiters walk if Durant tells them not to.
Wow.
You bristled.
Bristled? I think it was a little more than a bristle. I made the stink face is what I did. That was 15, 16 million.
What
for
if Kevin Durant
Deion
says
Waiters?
match him whatever?
I still wouldn't match him. I'm
And
not
then Kevin
doing
Durant
whatever
walks?
Kevin
That
Durant
seems
says.
unwise.
Kevin Durant's
Deion-
not walking because of Deion Waiters. I can guarantee you that.
I don't think so either.
I'm just saying here. But no, I think they'll have, like I said, about a $10, $12 million per year price. I don't know. I mean, there's been reports, the Kings and Sixers?
If you're Waiters, okay, I know you're going to get more money in those places, but if you really like to play basketball and be happy in
And
your
win.
job and win,
Well-
do you go to those places? I mean,
Look, I think he was really, I don't want to say to give the Thunder a discount, but I think he was really going to work with the Thunder to come back here. But then he's reading, they just traded for Victor Oladipo, a better
Yeah, that's
version
true.
of me. I think he's probably, and his agent are kind of angling a way to get out at this point because he was already kind of like a little bit wary of the 6-man role. Now it's like, what, 7th-man role?
Well, that phrase you said, better version of me, that's why I'm not giving him 15 or 16 million.
Right.
I'm capping it at 11, maybe 12.
And I think they will.
And I mean, with the salary cap implications, you can still avoid the tax next year, bring him back just that 1 year, and avoid being deep into the tax, maybe even in it at all with this cap going up. So that's a big time factor. But 15 to 16 million, that's too much for Deion Waiters. To come off the
Unless
bench.
Kevin Durant says so, then it's worth every penny.
Is Durant writing the check for the extra?
Eric, is Waiters back?
No. I mean, we could say these guys will take discounts and all. When it comes down to it, it's going to be really hard for him to pass up that opportunity to provide for his family if somebody tosses $12-14 million at him and the Thunder's not willing to go to that range. I mean, especially if the Thunder says if the Thunder's really serious about bringing in Al Horford. I mean, that certainly is gonna tighten the belt in terms of bringing back Deion Waiters for that much.
A big decision coming up, of course, for Kevin Durant. On the Thunder Buddies podcast, which I have dubbed the greatest Thunder Buddy podcast of all time.
I think that's disrespectful to Darnell.
It's not even close, number one.
Well,
it's
okay,
probably
what-
not in the top 3.
Well, I like
There's been
it.
some really good ones.
And I do wish Darnell was on there, because if he would have been on this one, which featured the role playing of Anthony Slater, Eric Horn, and Barry Trammell as Kevin Durant, Rich Kleiman, and whomever, Pat
Doc
Riley,
Rivers,
Doc Rivers.
Barry is the Pat Riley I enjoyed.
Well, here's the deal. Greg Popovich was good
or
too.
him was Greg
But
Popovich. Yeah,
if
that's right.
Darnell was on it, there would have been voices.
Yes, sir.
He
Yeah.
would have done voices.
Yeah,
sir.
yeah.
And so that's the only.
Anytime
I've
he's
done
done
I've done
voices,
some
I think
voices
Mike-
over there. Robot Scott Brooks.
That didn't go over so well.
Hey, what's my saying about that?
My saying or your saying?
Well, you're saying about my saying.
I'm not allowed to talk about Scott Brooks. Is that
I'm not allowed to talk about Robot Scott Brooks.
That
we
robot
can't do
Scott
robot
Brooks
Scott Brooks.
seemed to be a little severe, but it was great. You guys went through all the scenarios. While it was entertaining, it was also informative from my standpoint. So we're talking about, however, the whole production, Kevin Durant in the Hamptons. Why is this happening, Anthony? I realize that a little bit of his inertia, in other words, teams have had these things before, but you're doing a package for us, I guess, for tomorrow. I'm
Yeah.
losing track of my days.
Yeah, tomorrow.
About why the production, why the meetings, why all of this.
Look, he's going to lead SportsCenter for the next. He already has the last week, and he's going to again for another week. Everyone's talking about Kevin Durant. That's good for Nike, who paid him $300 million, 2 summers ago.
Yeah.
It's good for all of his endorsement deals. It's just good for his brand overall. As much as you want to still think it's Kevin Durant as this wholesome guy that tweets out this or that. Like he's become so big, and he's at Rock Nation now. It's just good for him to do it from a business perspective. And really, what does he have? If he's confident in his own decision, and if he's probably, as we think, figuring he's going to come back to Oklahoma City, but he doesn't know about his future here, isn't it smart to just hear these teams' pitches? And there's been rumors out there that a lot of these teams know they're going in to pitch 2017 in a sense, especially like the Boston Celtics.
Right.
They probably know they're not prying him this year. But to get his ear, to lay out his plan, I mean, what's wrong with Kevin Durant spending a July 4th weekend in the Hamptons?
Because it's going to be so quiet and
Yeah.
nobody will be there this weekend.
Is he
I'm
at
sure.
Jay-Z's house? Who knows? I mean, and everyone's pitching him meetings. He's hearing about how great he is. There's nothing really besides like temporary, like 7-week anxiety or 7-day anxiety in Oklahoma City. There's nothing really he has to lose, and he's got a lot to gain.
Bookmark that, but you know what that reminded me of, Jenny? The Stoops family Christmas that the sports animal used to do. Could we do the Hamptons with KD and family and all these folks? More voices.
I think this guy's off to the Hamptons with that shirt.
Yeah,
What do you
well,
think?
geez.
Are you
He's-
headed out?
He's
Gonna be
he's
grilling?
he's the private detective outside the Hamptons trying to like find where KD's
Oh,
You
going.
trying
you're
to
the-
blend in with the bushes here?
The fake
You're
mustache.
the one staking out the Chesapeake
I got
Energy
the arena. You're going to
Wanna
the
borrow the
Hamptons.
shirt?
I'm going to go to Orlando.
I'll loan you this shirt. You're going tomorrow, right?
Orlando? That could fit in Orlando.
I'll loan you this shirt. Okay, Jenny, for all the is this a charade? Does Kevin Durant know what he's going to do? And as Anthony said, he's just lining up, plan 2017.
I think there's a good chance he has a strong feeling about what he wants to do. But, I think to hear from some of these teams, I mean, I don't think it's 100% decided at this point. I don't think you go through all of this, and even with the Nike, even with the Rock Nation, I'm not sure you jump through all the hoops if you absolutely positively have your mind made up. So, I think there's a chance that he surprises a lot of us around here, that he's going to do something different. But I think he realizes that when it comes to potential, when it comes to comfort, when it comes to just all the things that he's talked about wanting
Basketball decision.
his basketball decision, there aren't too many options. I mean, it's pretty limited. It's here and maybe one or two other places, and those other places have what he has here in terms of being the alpha leader, being beloved, being able to live a life that he's comfortable with, and not just the money aspect of things, some of that other stuff. And I think if you're Durant, don't you look at things like the decision that Carmelo Anthony made a couple years ago? I'm going to go be a Knick. It's going to be great. How's that gone? I mean, I think you got to think about those sorts of things if you're Durant at this point.
Maybe he walked out the arena and said, "Do you want this to be Kevin Durant way? Do you want your statue right here?"
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe that was
That's
part of
why
the
they brought him in the front door. It's figure out where the statue is going to
goes.
be.
Yeah.
Hey, Eric, I'm coming to you. So, you guys in your role play, there was two people who really came at this and could throw their rings out on the table. And I'm not talking about Doc Rivers, because his rings were won in Boston. His rings were won with Kevin Garnett. I'm talking about Greg Popovich and Pat Riley. They're stationed in there. What role will rings play in Kevin Durant's decision? I mean, already won and worn rings.
Well, like Anthony was saying, and a lot of people have been reporting, a lot of these pitches are 2017 in mind, I think. And I think that Pat Riley can lay out his map like he did maybe for LaMarcus Aldridge a couple years ago when LaMarcus Aldridge was up in free agency. He said, "Hey, come back and visit me in a year." That didn't end up materializing, but Pat Riley was thinking forward, And that might be a thing that he's doing with Durant this time around, because they got to figure out Dwayne Wade. They got to figure out what they're doing with Hassan Whiteside. They're not exactly in a position where it would be advantageous for them to handle that right now. And it might be the same thing with the Spurs, because they have a lot of uncertainty when it comes to Tim Duncan, when it comes to Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker's future. So a lot of these guys are setting the table for next season. And, I mean, what better guys to come in and say, hey, we're going to really go after this thing again than Pat Riley and Greg Popovich.
I left out the Warriors, of course, who have some rings to throw.
Oh,
a ring,
Yeah, a ring.
not rings. Although they could bring Rick Barry out there. Let's end it up here, folks. If not, who among these who are now supposed to present? You have to drop your Washington Wizards out, of course. Did not make the cut.
Sorry.
Is the most dangerous?
Who does the Thunder most have to fear?
It's clearly to me the Warriors, because the Warriors can say, "Hey, if you go back to the Thunder, we're battling you for the title next season." But if you come to the Warriors, we're not battling the Thunder. You're now on our team. They're knocked off. The Thunder are no longer title contenders. We're rolling to a title. This is the best chance for you to win a title, because you're knocking off a competitor instead of going up against us.
Next season. Jenny?
I say Warriors too, although I think Spurs is intriguing. I think they're definitely an interesting option. Obviously, they've got the older set, but clearly we saw Kawhi Leonard, LaMarcus Aldridge, those guys really asserting their role in the present and the future of the Spurs. Popovich clearly knows what he's doing. To me, that would be the other one I'd be looking at.
Eric, you, then Darnell. Who do they have to fear?
I'd say Warriors, but I wouldn't agree with rolling to a title, because if they get Durant, they're going to have to gut a lot of the roster and get rid of a lot of those important pieces that they had in these last 2 years and going and chasing a title. We saw in the Cleveland series how LeBron James took over and really asserted himself in that series. Rolling might be a little far, but the Warriors definitely have the best cachet of players and system to put around Durant.
Darnell, you got the last word.
I think San Antonio is right there as a close second. Obviously, Golden State is probably the favorite, but San Antonio, in my opinion, because Greg Popovich, because of R.C. Buford, Kevin Durant and Greg Popovich have this strangely close relationship. That I think hasn't been reported enough. But Team USA coach, incoming Team USA coach, his time on Team USA, I think they've gotten know each other through that. And then they've got the pieces with LaMarcus Aldridge and Kawhi Leonard. I think they would fit really well together with Kevin Durant. So I wouldn't rule out San Antonio, especially since San Antonio is what, an hour from Austin?
Yeah.
Something
Yeah,
like
good
that.
point.
So Kevin Durant could be right there in his old stomping grounds.
Yeah,
I think
his
San Antonio is a team to look out for.
His respect for the Spurs, I mean, it's you can see it. You can tell it when they've played. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think you can discredit what they've done and the fact that, look at them being able to lure Aldridge a year ago. They took him from a place that he loved. I mean, he loved being in Portland, and Portland loved him. And he was a hallmark guy for them. So they've got experience in doing this. And they can say to Durant, listen, we've got these older guys, and you can learn from them, but you're going to be the leader of the core of this next group that takes us to the next 10 years or whatever. That's going to be fairly enticing, I think.
Miami, the guy's 27 years old, a millionaire many times over. South Beach is a pretty appealing place to be. I mean, and Pat Riley can come on and drop the rings on the table. So
2017 for that. I was just thinking as you were talking about the Spurs, though, Darnell, last point, what an OU Texas game that would be and how different it would feel if KD shows up on the Texas sidelines wearing a Spurs jersey and doing hook 'em horns. Not so forgiving, Oklahoma, not so forgiving.
No.
Hey, that's all for Thunder Thursday, but you can join the best team every day at News OK and every morning in the Oklahoman.